Hey you guys, Coach Liz here. All right. One of my favorite things to do as a metabolic health coach is not just to coach someone, but to empower them to become the dominant force in their own lives by giving them tools and education to be able to be mindful of what they're putting in their body and knowing exactly why they're doing that. Now, one thing that is so important, not just in a weight loss phase, but for the rest of your life, is making sure that you're protecting your muscle, having strong muscle mass because it helps you balance your blood sugar so that your body is not storing fat. It also helps your bones to be stronger, helps you to live a longer, better quality life. You can do more with more muscle. You can eat more with more muscle. And so the way that you feed your muscle is through protein. And of course, exercise builds your muscle, but you cannot build muscle without protein. And so I like to empower you to know like what is a good source of protein, because protein is all the hype now. All the food labels advertise that it is good protein sources, because we now know how important muscle health is. So let me share with you something that's so simple when you are at the grocery store to know, is this a good source of protein? So I just went and grabbed a few things from my pantry, and I'm going to show you how simple it can be just to tell if something is a good choice or not. So I'm going to start with these popcorner protein chips. I saw these at Costco. They looked good. We thought we'd try them. So on it says 9 grams of protein, which is awesome to have some protein. If you're going to eat a chip anyways, then awesome to get some extra protein. But it does advertise that it's a good source of protein. So let's find out if that is true. So if you look at the label on the back, these have 140 calories in a serving. And it's always good to take out a serving size so that you're not just eating something out of the bag and not knowing how much you're eating. So taking out a serving size, so 140 grams of protein. Now the protein has 9 grams of protein in a serving. So how do we know if that is a good source of protein? What you do is you add a 0 to the 9, and so that would make it 90. And you want that number to be equal or higher than the calories. So in this case, it's 140. So yes, there's some protein in these chips compared to some that were not with added protein. So better, there's good, better, best. But for it being a good source of protein, no, because it's not equal or greater than the calories. So we know that for a fun food, it might be a better option than other chips with, popcorners without protein, but you couldn't consider this a good source of protein. So the more you know. All right, another thing is just these beef sticks. My daughter loves to take these in her lunch. It's just like a quick, easy way to get some protein. So let's find out, is this a good source of protein? So on the label, these have 100 calories for one of these sticks, and it has 10 grams of protein. So if I add a 0 to that 10 to make it 100, that is equal to the calories. So I know that this is a good source of protein. So when you're looking for something that you're eating for protein, then you want it to be a good source of protein. So that would be any meat, low-fat dairy, something like that. That's because you're eating that for the protein. So you want to make sure it's a good source of protein. If you're eating something like chips, you're not eating chips or crackers for protein, right? And so something like this would be better than something that didn't have any protein. It's going to help your overall protein goal for the day, but it wouldn't be something that I would pick because of the protein, if that makes sense. Now let's compare a Trilivy fueling. Brownies. This is one of my favorites. I love the brownies. Let's see if this is a good source of protein. And it's not even a protein fueling, it's a meal replacement. So it's a balanced fueling that has carbs, protein, fats, all of the things that you need. But let's see if it's a good source of protein. So on this, it has 110 calories in the brownie, and it has 11 grams of protein. So if I add a 0, then that's 110 grams, or 110 compared to 110 calories. So this meal replacement is actually a great option. It's a high source of protein, especially compared to any other brownie that you're going to be eating. So if you're going to be eating a brownie, then what better option than to have a high protein source? But even to be able to use this as a replacement for something sweet, or if you are on the reset plan, doing a metabolic reset, then this is actually a great option because it's going to keep your blood sugar balanced for those 3 hours and get you the protein you need, get you all your vitamins, probiotics, prebiotics, all the things that you need without even thinking about it. So something like this is a great go-to thing that you can go and eat and know that you're feeding your body well. High protein, very macro balanced. So this is a great example also. So here is my challenge for you. When you grab something out of your pantry or when you are grocery shopping, just turn the label over and ask if you're eating this for protein, if you're getting it for protein, is it a good source of protein? And so most often, if you can eat something that is a high source of protein, that's going to help you hit your protein goal. Here's a couple more examples. An egg. An egg usually has about 6 grams of protein and about 90 calories. So a whole egg is actually not a high source of protein because of the fat in the yolk that makes the calories higher. But if you were to mix one egg with some egg whites, you could adjust that so it does equal a high source of protein. Or if you added some cottage cheese to your scrambled eggs, you could make that a high source of protein. And so sometimes if there's something that's not considered a high source of protein, you could add something with it so that when you added the total calories and the total protein, that it could equal actually a high source of protein. So hopefully that made sense. So if you are going out to eat, for example, and if you have access to be able to see how many calories and how much protein is on a menu item, that's actually what I look for when I go out to eat. I went and had a protein bowl yesterday with a friend, and I looked at the menu and I looked at it said how many calories and how much protein. And so I looked for the bowl that was closest that had 40 calories and I think it had about 430 calories with 40 grams of protein. So that was the closest thing that I could get that was about equal so that I could eat that and know that I was making a great choice. So when you are going to get something to eat, looking for something that's a high source of protein so that your calories and your protein is either equal or the protein is higher than the calories, then you know that was a great choice and that will help you hit your protein goal. So that's just a little tip that makes reading labels very simple. So as you go throughout your day, turn the label over, look for things that are a high source of protein to help you hit that protein goal to protect your muscle and help keep your blood sugar more balanced. All right, give it a try. Have a great week.